On today's show, NBA Western Conference play-in stock watch. Which teams in the play-in conversation from this past season will rise or fall in the NBA ranks? The Minnesota Timberwolves, the OKC Thunder, the New Orleans Pelicans, and so many more teams. Which teams are you buying, selling, or holding stock of going into this next season? It's all coming up right here at Locked On NBA.
You are Locked On NBA, your daily NBA podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up and welcome to another edition of Locked On NBA, the biggest stories with the local experts. I'm your host, Jackson Gatlin, also host of Locked On Rockets right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. Now, today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Get ready for the NFL season with incredible offers from FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets back guaranteed. Plus, all customers who bet $5 will get $100 off NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Now is the best time to join FanDuel. The app is easy to use, and you can be on everything from spreads to player props and so much more. Right now, we can take a look at the outright betting favorites for Super Bowl 58. The Kansas City Chiefs leading the way at plus 600, the Eagles at plus 800, and then rounding out the top five, if the Buffalo Bills at plus 900, and the Bengals and the 49ers at plus 1,000 points apiece. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and kick off the NFL season with an offer you do not want to miss out on. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. Joining us now for part two of our Western Conference playoffs stock watch is Darian Vaziri, the host of Locked On Clippers. You can track down wherever you listen to your podcasts and on YouTube. Just search Locked On Clippers. Now, Darian, we went through the top 6 teams in the Western Conference this past season and whether or not we were buying, selling, or holding on their stock values. And the couple teams that we kind of safely painted as teams that might actually see a little bit of regression this next season, the Memphis Grizzlies, and you also pointed out potentially the LA Clippers as a team, and also the Warriors, some teams that might see a little bit of returns that they wouldn't like as much in the win-loss column this next season compared to this past year. So looking at that, let's navigate towards the teams that are in or were in the play-in bracket from this past season and see which teams might be poised to take a jump relative to their standings. So we had at the top of the play-in bracket this past go-around, the LA Lakers 43-39. Their win total prediction for the year, 47.5 games. Are you buying or selling Lakers stock at this point?
I am definitely buying. The Lakers are, in my opinion, for sure going to be a playoff top 6 team, because they don't have to deal with the whole Russell Westbrook fiasco that they were dealing with starting last season. They know their roster. They just made it to the conference finals. They're riding on that high. And Austin Reeves is really getting better and better every year. They locked up D'Lo for a couple of years now, so he has the confidence in the organization that they've trusted him going forward. And Anthony Davis, I think he really got back to playing at not just an all-star level, but a real superstar level this past playoff run. The only thing is, LeBron's not getting any younger, but I just don't see LeBron regressing that much. I mean, the guy is the epitome of longevity and excellence and being great for so long. So I got the Lakers increasing their win total for sure in the regular season. The only way they don't is if there's a major injury to Bron or AD. AD played 56 games last year, so he already missed 26. Unless he plays like 45 or less, I think for sure they're going to be increasing their win total.
Yeah, I think Lakers are, I feel like, an easy, safe one to say, you know what, as long as, health permitting, that's a team that's really hard to bet against. As long as they can get AD and LeBron healthy for a good chunk of games, they fleshed out the roster. I think I'm inclined to buy as well on the Lakers stock. This next one's going to be so interesting. I'm so torn on this one, Darian, so I'm curious to see where your head is at. Minnesota Timberwolves, 42-40 this past year. 44.5 on the FanDuel win-loss record. We going over, under, we buying, selling? Where are we at?
Can I still keep it where it's at?
You can keep it where it's at. I don't think it's a cop-out to keep it where it's at. I think you can go with that. I'm inclined to sell, but
yeah, see, I don't know how much better their roster got. The only thing I'll say is the Ant-Man is special and he's going to keep getting better. That's the one thing.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at how Anthony Edwards is currently tearing it up for Team USA. He could be poised to take another massive leap this year, but at the same time, you look at the pieces elsewhere on that team, I just don't. If there's any team in the West that's going to fall off a little bit, I think the Timberwolves are probably the leading favorite for that to happen of the teams that made it to the playoffs this past year. Would you agree with that at least?
All the teams that played in 7-game series? I don't, because the Timberwolves played against the Nuggets. So yeah, I really don't know, because it's really about injuries to me. I mean, if you're assuming everyone's healthy, then I would say it's either them or Memphis. But the one thing that makes me a little more confident about Minnesota being that level, 42 wins or something, is that Karl-Anthony Towns only played in 29 games last year. Now, that may be a conversation of like, do people think that he makes the team better? Do people think he makes the team worse or whatever? But I will say, I'd assume he's going to play more than 29 games this year. And given that Anthony Edwards played 82 games, I see him as a guy he's, knock on wood, going to give you at least 70 games. And I think that's one thing I'm more confident about Minnesota health-wise than I am other teams, because the real question mark I have is Karl-Anthony Towns, but he was already injured so much last season that I think he will be there more this season and almost guaranteed. And that's why I feel like 40 wins is an easy marker for them. But I tend to think they'll have just as much as last season, if not maybe within 2, whether it's higher or lower. But I'm going to go with keeping it where it's at.
That's why I'm so torn when you're looking at the Western Conference, because so many of these teams, there's only, I think, 2 teams, maybe 1 team only in the Western Conference that you can point to and say, okay, that team is not actually trying to win games whatsoever. And it's the San Antonio Spurs. That's the one team. I don't know if you can safely say that about the Blazers quite just yet, but with
you think the Spurs aren't trying to win anymore now that they have Wembanyama?
I don't know if there's like maybe not a mandate on winning. I just think of the 15 teams out west, I think that 14 of them would be probably at this point happy with being in the play-in or towards the playoffs or whatever. And there's one team that's going to be perfectly content if that's not the case, which gives you San Antonio. But of all those teams, like, are the Jazz trying to win? Are the Blazers trying to win? And the Rockets are trying to win. So there's going to be a bunch of teams that are upset and left out of the play-in tournament this next season, which is why I don't think it'd be shocking to see a team not crack 50 wins in the Western Conference. But that brings us to our next team that we've got right here, the OKC Thunder, who exceeded expectations this past year. They finished 40 and 42, I apologize. Their win total 44.5 games as well. I think I'm buying all the Thunder stock, Darian. I think they're ascending and still currently ascending.
They won 42 games last year?
Won 42 games. Sorry, they won 40 games last year. 40 and 42.
And they have them at what? 44?
44.5.
Oh, it's so hard, because I really don't know if the Thunder will be a 46-win team next year. See, I don't want to keep saying I'm keeping where it's at. I don't want to keep saying that. I may have to just go under.
You're taking the under? You're selling?
I'm not confident in that pick at all, because the Thunder are going to get better. I just don't know how much better, but they are going to get better. There's no doubt in my mind. Now Chet Holmgren's coming into the mix. They have a great young team. Jalen Williams is good. Both of them are good, but the one from Santa Clara is even better. SGA is a stud, as I know very well as a Clipper fan. So I don't blame you for taking the over.
I think that could be. I think the Thunder are going to be the young team that continues to. They're on their upward trajectory right now, and I really don't see anything slowing them down. That 44.5, I am tempted. It's a really close one there, but I'm buying the stock, at least at this point. The Pelicans are an interesting situation with Zion and everything going on over there. They eked in. They were 42 and 40. They finished. Oh, I apologize. Not they finished 44.5 for their win total prediction for this next season. So another 44.5. Where are you going with this one, Darian? You buying or selling the stock?
This is another team that it's all about health, like all about health. They're so banged up all the time. I love their roster. But you know what? Since I went with the under with OKC and I wasn't really feeling confident on that, I'm not necessarily feeling confident on this one. But I really like Brandon Ingram, so I'm going to give an over with the Pelicans and just cross my fingers that they stay healthy this year. Because if they do, if they get Zion and Ingram for 60 games at least between the two, I think they can get 48 to 50 wins, to be honest. I think they're a good team.
I mean, people forget they were flirting with number 1 seed in the West when they did have guys healthy. So they were
right.
They were not to be trifled with, and then things started to fall apart a little bit over there. So do you have the Pelicans pegged as the team that could make the biggest jump from where they were this past season to this next season based on health?
Yeah, I think it's between them and the Thunder. I really do. I think it's between them and the Thunder. Of course, the Lakers, I think they will jump up a lot. But as far as the teams, well, technically you can say the Lakers were in that play-in territory, but definitely of the OKC and New Orleans, I could see them really taking a leap. Then the next team we're going to get to, if we do get to them, I think could easily take a leap as well.
The Dallas Mavericks, because that's what I'm going to add. Of the rest of the 5 teams that you had to leave out, right? So we have the Mavericks, the Jazz, the Blazers, Rockets, and Spurs. Of those teams, it's hard to say that the Mavericks aren't going to be somewhere in that mix. And who knows what? I mean, the Rockets are looking to take a playoff jump as well. Of those teams, who do you... Are you throwing if you're throwing the Mavs back in there, who are you kicking out of the playoffs?
See, that's the tough one. I'm really thinking about it. And it's like, I think I'm going to go with Minnesota. But I still stand by what I said. Like, I don't think it's going to be Minnesota because of Anthony Edwards' health. Like, I think they're going to be there in the play-in. I think my honest answer, but this is a cop-out, is it's going to be the team that there's going to be one of these 10 teams. Unfortunately, I hate to say this, but there's going to be one team that's best, like their best players are injured a lot and they're just not going to be involved. I think that's my prediction. But in a perfect world, everyone healthy, if I had to choose, I'll go with Minnesota because I really don't know how that fit really is with Karl Anthony Towns and Gobert. I'm really not sold on it.
Yeah, Minnesota, I think, seems to me the clear-cut team when it comes to fit, question marks. That's the team that probably could go tumbling out of the playoff picture altogether in the Western Conference to make a little bit of room for Luka Doncic and the rest of the Dallas Mavericks. However, one of those other young teams might take a step forward. The Rockets are looking for a playoff spot this next season, and if they actually make a push, then another team has to find their way out as well. But you're going to have us covered for all of the hypotheticals and off-season action over at Locked On Clippers. Darian, I appreciate you stopping by Locked On NBA with me.
Anytime.